Good morning, folks. Welcome back to Penny for the Soul. Today it's a story on snakes. So I traveled all the way to Rathnapuri village, which is 50 kilometers from Mysuru in Karnataka, to go to the Liana Trust serpentarium. Now the Liana Trust serpentarium is India's first venom producing serpentarium following WHO standards, and that's why I made the journey. I got to interview Gerry Martin, the founder director, a very fine herpetologist and a disciple of Whitaker. I also met a young lady, Lisa Gonsalves, who is arguably the only lady curator of a serpentarium in India and possibly in many parts of the world. So interviewed her and met up with two other young ladies who are assistant curators there, Shivaani and Hajera. So they have about 100 adult venomous snakes and many more babies. So just sit back and enjoy this story. Friends, we are meeting Gerry Martin, who's learnt everything he knows from the snake man of India, Whitaker. And Gerry runs this wonderful serpentarium, and which we have seen now already. Gerry, my first elementary question to you is, what is the basic function of your, lovely serpentarium?
So we started the serpentarium with a single-minded focus initially of being able to provide WHO standard venom free of cost for the production of anti-venom, because snakebite is a huge issue in the country. But through our work, we also realized that there's a lot of things that we really don't know. Snakes in general are very misunderstood. Even we so-called experts don't really have researched answers for a lot of the questions. Very little behavioral work has ever been done on snakes. Almost no behavioral work has been done on snakes in India. Very little ecological work as well has been done on snakes. And funnily enough, there's very little work that's been done at the intersection of humans and snakes. So that's what we're trying to work out here and understand better. What are the dynamics between humans and snakes? What are the behavioral, ecological factors that trigger or maximize the risk of snakebite, and how best we can also treat snakebite in case of the contingency.
Wow. I wanted to know that because your venom collection is one major function, right, at the serpentarium. How are you planning to, tie up with, meaning get into large-scale anti-venom production, in collaboration with, say, a pharma company or something?
So we won't actually be, we won't be doing the anti-venom production. There are some pretty large anti-venom producers in the country. We've already been approached by two of them, and fortunately they're the two best ones, and we're just waiting on the green signal from the forest department, and then we'll start giving them venom for the production of anti-venom. The thing is, we have this is going to be the first serpentarium of its kind where venom will be produced at WHO standards in the country, that is. We will need more around the country.
Like these?
Like this, yes. And hopefully we'll be able to set a standard and be a place where others could come and build capacity and be trained as well.
Wonderful. So that it can be replicated pan-India. Yeah. Yes. So that was one of my questions I had in mind. That is, what is the situation vis-a-vis availability of anti-venom pan-India? Because India gets a lot of snake bite cases on a daily basis. But so what is the availability of anti-venom in government hospitals that you know of, Is it easily available, or there's a paucity of anti-venom?
So I think that question actually has a whole lot of nuanced answers.
Okay.
It's important to also realize that anti-venom, it's not just that we have a shortage. There are lots of other factors that are at play. For example, there is variation in venom, both between species as well as within a species. So, for example, a Russell's viper here and a Russell's viper in West Bengal have very different venoms, and the anti-venom doesn't work or to the same efficacy in all places. There are some places, in fact, where anti-venom doesn't work because the venoms are so different. There are also other species. Until now, we've been working under the flawed premise that there are 4 species of venomous snakes that are medically significant in the country. The truth is we have at least 18 to 20. And there are places where none of the big 4 so-called snakes exist, but there's still a large amount of snakebite. So we have to actually address this regionally. And one of the big issues with this is India is a single country, but if you look at it from the point of view of diversity, if you look at it from the point of view of venom variation, we are, comparable to Africa, a continent. People generally talk about the Indian subcontinent and Africa as far as snakebite goes in the same breath. So we've got that much venom variation. We have that many species. So we have a long way to go before we actually have not just enough, but also enough effective anti-venom all over the country.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have a lot of work to do on that front.
Wow. So, I having interviewed Romulus Whittaker recently, I had a question. When you went and, learned the ropes under somebody like Rom Whittaker, and today, is there among the young generation, now Lisa is a young lady and I met your other team also, are more younger people coming to this, to herpetology and, the world of snakes? Do you see more interest getting generated among the young?
There's quantity and then there's quality. And I think quantity-wise, yes, there's a lot of people. Unfortunately, I think much of it stems from, especially when it comes to snakes, it stems from a very dysfunctional source. Most often it's about, how cool you are to handle a snake and those kind of things. So it's quite funny when if I say I work with snakes, the first thing that most people ask is, do you handle them? But you don't do the same thing when you talk about birds or tigers or anything else, or rabbits for that matter. So even if one was to say, I work with dogs, no one says, can you handle a dog, right? But when it comes to snakes, for some reason, that's the first thing that is in people's mind. And unfortunately, I think that, pretty much testosterone-driven machismo is what almost all I would dare say, almost all the people, the youngsters coming to, or even the older folks who are working with snakes have in mind. Here, I would actually say that, what we have here in our team with Lisa, Shivaani and Hajera is a very rare combination of commitment, passion and level-headedness. So there is a lot of care about what the snakes are going through, not stressing them out, not handling them for no reason, and by and large we have a lot of norms here that you won't find in other places. So unfortunately for snakes and for the many snake handlers who get bitten, that's not the case in other places as well.
Oh, thank you. Good to hear this. One question that I kind of missed out. When you all get snakes from the wild for research and, to the serpentarium, how difficult is it to, catch them in the wild, different species? How does the process happen? I mean, is it starts with either nothing to do with rescue calls? It's do you all go out and get a viper or a cobra?
Both. So the thing is, we want to work with animals that are already in conflict to start with. So this thing of rescue calls, basically what happens is someone sees a snake on their property or in their house and calls a rescuer, and then the rescuer comes, catches it and moves it somewhere else. So to begin with, I'd like to point out that itself is very dysfunctional, because most of those snakes end up dying. All the research done so far points to snakes that are moved dying almost certainly. So it's not really rescue, it should also be called, maybe snake removal or something like that. But our initial step is actually getting permission from the Forest Department and the government. So we've got that permission now, but and we only have the permission for Karnataka state, but every time we go to a forest division, we need to speak with the divisional conservator of forest there, who then will give us a go ahead and say, yes, you may collect X number of snakes of so and so species. And then we go out looking most often. We have relied on rescuers in the past. Unfortunately, even well-meaning, very good rescuers, the snakes that come in from them are highly stressed, very often damaged. So, and that's something that we never see, because what we do is when someone's come and he or she has taken the snake away, the snake is caught and released, and no one knows what happens to it. But what we've seen is almost invariably, snakes that are caught by other people, other rescuers, are very highly stressed, at least, and quite often damaged.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gerry. So, good morning, friends. We are at the Liana serpentarium that I gave you in the introduction. This is near Rathnapuri, about 50 kilometers from Mysuru in Karnataka. So, in front of me I have Lisa Gonsalves. She's the young lady curator of this wonderful serpentarium. And she has two colleagues here. Shivaani, say hi.
Hello.
That's Shivaani. She's cleaning up one of the cages, and I'll come to Hajera later on. Yeah.
So what we do every morning is basic spot cleaning is what we call it. So we do a quick check for feces or anything that needs to be cleared out of the cage. This is done first thing in the mornings. It helps us keep infection at bay. The process is very simple. You scoop out feces or if the snake has shed its skin, you take it out, disinfect the area, and then move on to the next enclosure.
Wow. Can we see what Shivaani is doing here? Shivaani, you're done with that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Going to the next one.
Okay. He has gone into a cage which has our friend a viper. What viper is it?
This is a Russell's viper.
Russell's viper, yeah.
So safety is always a top priority when we're working with venomous snakes. Shivaani has boots on. She always has a hook in her hand and always wears a glove for when she's collecting any samples. That keeps her safe at all times. That also keeps the snake safe from any unnecessary impact.
Yeah, so Shivaani has boots, gloves, and that rod.
Oh, hook, a snake
Hook.
as
Yes,
well.
you call it a snake hook, no?
Yes.
And our friend is in the corner there, no?
Yes. On the right side.
Yeah. Can you guys see it? It's resting there in the corner, in the center of the screen. Thank you.
So the spot cleaning is done for all the outdoor enclosures that we have. We have larger snakes in outdoor enclosures, so Russell's vipers and cobras in this unit and in the unit at the back.
Uh-huh.
And the smaller species that we have are housed indoors. We'll take a look at that.
Okay. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕನ್ನಡ ಬರ್ತದೆ. This is Hajera. Hajera.
H-A-J-A-R-A.
You said the cobra here has shed its skin,
Yes.
na? Let me show that.
One of the cobras
Yeah.
has shed its skin. Shivaani is clearing it out right now.
Yeah, that's the skin. This is how it looks. So this there is a frequency to the shedding of the skin.
Yes, so it depends on like if the snake has had a big meal, then it might go into a shed after. But typically, when they're younger, snakes will shed their skin more often, and when they're older, they shed their skins maybe 7-8 times a year. But if they're injured, if they have ticks or mites or something like that have come onto their body, then they go into a shed.
Wow. Looks like a beehive, no? Lisa, you're telling me about the skin.
Yeah. So with each snake that sheds its skin, we try to make sure that the eye cap's out, or we check to make sure that the eye caps are out.
Yeah.
That's here, and then the tip of the tail is out.
Wow.
So we make sure that that's there with every shed. It is then logged into our app that I can show you soon.
Yeah. So what's the significance of getting the head and the tail? So you
that-
know it's a clean shed.
That's where you know it's a clean shed, and Sometimes when eye caps are retained or the tail tips are retained, it can lead to infections. So we like to keep track of that and catch it early. So just in case that's not come out in the snake, that indicates a problem with temperature or humidity.
Okay.
So then we know that's something that we have to fix, and that's something that needs attention.
Wow.
Immediately.
Yeah, okay, thank you. There's a spectacle cobra, no?
Yes.
So friends, you can see it there. Look at it. Beautiful creature. In its den, so to say, in its cage. Wonderful. So that's a Russell's viper that's moving. So see the design on its body, lay people to recognize it. There are about 40 cages we saw, no? There are about 40 cages, yeah. Yeah. But there are say 100 adult snakes that you all have.
Yes.
So in some cages there are two of them together.
Yes.
And those are largely spectacle cobra.
Spectacle cobras. So it depends. We can house our snakes in pairs. So we put, I can show you what those look like a little later. We put PIT tags into them, which gives them, so we can scan a snake and then it has a unique ID. So that way we can tell individuals apart, even if there are multiple snakes together in a single cage. And most snakes will do okay together. We try not to house them in large numbers because then the spread of any infection, in case one snake picks it up, can spread to a larger number of snakes, which is then harder for us to control.
Yeah.
So we try to keep it in small numbers.
Small numbers, yeah. Thank you. So friends, you can see the king cobra right there. Yeah, you can see right in the center of the screen. You can see its face. That's a king cobra.
So that's a 14, he's about 14 feet. His name is Aragon for any Lord of the Rings fans.
So he's what did you say, for 14 feet?
He's about 14 feet, yeah.
And what name have you given him?
Aragon.
Aragon.
So, yeah, Lord of the Rings fans.
Wow.
He's one of the calmest, nicest. Actually, all snakes are.
I must get that.
Yeah.
You know, you said something about snakes being calm. So
Yeah.
now this, you said king cobra is one of the calmest you all have.
He is. He's one of the calmest, nicest snakes and extremely perceptive. And I think that's something that I've noticed with all snakes here. They're very often perceiving a lot about their environment, clocking things, learning things. And I think that's something that's not been researched much. And that's honestly where one of my interests lies, is in just seeing how intelligent these species are.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
They're
But
very
when you say species, not just cobras.
not just cobras.
You're running across
the board, yeah.
vipers and all that. Wow.
Across the board.
So snakes as a type of reptiles, you're saying they are very intelligent and.
I think they're very intelligent. Might be pushing. You can sometimes see them being quite silly, actually. But they are learning a lot. They're perceiving a lot, and in fact, some of the snakes who've been here with us a while now have learned what the feeding tongs mean. So when we're going in to feed them, they see the feeding tongs and they have a very different response. You see them know what it means. They look more eager to feed. And in fact, some of the vipers and cobras have stopped even striking at their prey. So very often you put the rat in front of them and we give them pre-killed rats. They'll just start swallowing it. So they don't inject venom. They've sort of learned that this is pre-kill. They don't waste their venom on their prey anymore, and they just sort of just eat it. So it's very cool.
Amazing, yeah. Thank you. What kind of enclosure is this indoors?
So this is our indoor serpentarium.
Yeah.
We have a lot of our smaller species housed in here.
Yeah.
So this is a saw-scaled viper.
Yeah.
The coding that we use for them is the scientific name, so the first two letters of the scientific name, that's Echis carinatus, and then the state that they were collected from, so Karnataka. All of our snakes are collected from Karnataka at the
Okay.
moment.
So saw-scaled viper you said, and I can see it in that green body, no? There.
He's
It's a
sitting in the
baby
plant.
saw scale,
This
right?
is an adult.
Oh, this is an adult.
Yeah, they're small snakes. They don't grow much more than that.
But we saw big guys there, no? In that other cage, saw scale.
Those were
viper.
Russell's vipers.
Oh yeah, the Russell's viper. This
Those
is
are
saw
Russell's
scale,
vipers.
yeah.
These are saw scale vipers.
Wow. Lisa, my question was, as a layman, I thought that the skin, the top skin of the saw scale was quite similar to the Russell's.
Yes. So that's
So-
because of the type of scales that they have.
Yeah.
So you have your snakes with smoother scales, which are your spectacle cobras and crates, and you'll find them, they often look quite glossy and smooth. The saw scale viper and Russell's viper have what are called keeled scales, which means they have a ridge along the top of their scale. And that sort of really helps them with camouflage and to blend in with leaf litter.
Yeah.
You won't see the sun reflecting off of them.
Yeah, in the leaf litter,
they-
you'll hardly notice this guy.
You won't, in fact, at all.
My gosh. So the
Especially
only way in the
Russell's
jungles
vipers.
is to wear boots and go or something, no? Covering your ankles, I guess.
Covering your ankles, always walk on a clear path if
Yeah.
you can. And if there is tall grass or leaf litter, if you're able to clear it with a stick or something that you have handy,
Yeah.
that would be
So in the jungle, you're saying if there is leaf litter and tall grass, you kind of clear it with a stick and all that, so that you don't step on one.
Walking, and it's not limited to just jungles. Actually, even agricultural fields. Very often there are lots of cobras and Russell's vipers there. They come for the rats. So any place with coconut frond piles, that's one of the Russell's vipers' favorite spaces to occupy. So make sure that you're never stepping into those things or in tall grass. Always make sure that you're walking on a clear path. And if you are going into tall grass,
Boots are a must.
best option.
Wow. That's a Malabar pit viper, no? On the rock. Wow. Wow. Good camouflage, no? With the green and brown skin. So what you've done is you've created a lot of greenery and a bit of a waterfall also to really keep the snake, make it feel at home, no?
Yes. So what we're aiming to do is offer them as much choice as we can, and as close to their natural habitat as we can.
Lisa, I wanted to ask you, when did you develop an interest in snakes, At what age or...
At what age? So honestly, after I came here, so I first came here in 2018 as a volunteer. I've always loved animals, always known I wanted to work with animals, and was always interested in animal behavior. So after I came here, I think normally most often when you volunteer with organizations, you work with dogs and cats in cities and some other domestic animals, but that's really the extent of it. So I was only introduced to snakes and other reptiles after I came in here as a volunteer, and found that they're extremely perceptive, and there's really not known about them. There's not much known about them at all. So I think that's something that really interested me.
Okay. So what is the biggest challenge, in your learning phase? What was the biggest challenge? Because you were not familiar with snakes to begin with, no? So how did you get familiar with snakes?
So I was not familiar with snakes. I never knew how to interact with them really, but I was never scared of them. So that way, fortunately, it wasn't fear that I really had to overcome while I was here. But I think a lot of my thinking was challenged, and that's, I think, one of the best parts about a space like the Liana Trust and working with Gerry is that he constantly challenges me to do more and to do better. And I think we all grew up, especially all of us animal lovers, grew up with often a very rosy picture of what conservation is and what it should be like, and how animals need to be housed. And I think shifting that perception to something that's more practical and realistic, and something that benefits both people, the animals, and also the environment as a whole.
Yeah. And I believe I heard that you and your colleagues, your lady colleagues, you all are also snake rescuers
Yes.
for the region
Yes.
or the area locality. So what has been the most challenging snake rescue?
So, possibly one of the most challenging snake rescues. The snakes are always great. So I feel like that's one thing I really want to put out there.
You said that you wanted to break a myth, na? Some
Yes,
What are the
yes.
myths?
So that snakes are actually the easiest, the calmest, the gentlest to deal with when you're doing a snake rescue. Often they're pushed to either if they're cornered, if there are too many people around, they'll be a little more defensive. But as long as you give the snake a safe space to go as soon as possible, I think that's what matters the most. So that's what we try to do when we head out on rescue or on snake called Gerry, is just take the snake out of that situation as quickly as possible.
So the snake shouldn't feel cornered.
The snake shouldn't feel cornered. The snake shouldn't have to, like a cobra that's hissing and pudding and really, that's a really scared cobra. That's something that Gerry always says is like a hissing, hooding cobra, which is the image that we always have of a cobra, is a very, very scared cobra. And most often, I think you would have seen with some of the cobras outside that they don't even have their hoods up. They're sort of in a situation where they don't feel the need to defend themselves.
Yeah.
So what we do is try and take the snake out of a stressful situation as quickly as possible. And I think it helps being women going out on a rescue because first of all, there's none of the bravado and shusha. We don't parade the snakes around. The snakes hate that. It's often bagged as quickly as possible. And then we just get the snakes into a safe space. We speak with the people about either, if it's a non-venomous snake, we speak with them about releasing it right outside their house. If it's inside the house, if it's outside, then we speak with them about just leaving it there. If it's a venomous snake, we speak to them about releasing it as close as possible. And about the safety precautions that they should be taking. So in terms of wearing boots, using a torch at night, clearing up the paths, clearing up spaces around their house. It's most often the rats that the snakes come for. So
That's right. But those tips are so useful.
they really
Yeah, because
and they can
correct. Yeah. So I just wanted to quickly repeat that little tip that even Romulus Whittaker gave me in an interview recently, that about venomous snakes and non-venomous snake.
Yes.
That after rescuing it, where do you keep it? Yeah, that you can repeat. Yeah.
Yes. So non-venomous snakes, if they're found outside your house, leave them where they are. They're probably just eating rats and stuff around. They're not going to harm you. They're not going to harm anyone else around you. Even with venomous snakes, if they're outside your house, if you don't have pets and stuff, then try and leave the snake where it is. I suppose that's one of the, if you can manage that, the snake will most often go off on its own. And snakes have home ranges, so they have a space that they're constantly occupying, and the snake would have been in this space for years. And you're seeing in this, like it's made the mistake of showing up to your house this one time, or entering your house this one time.
And a venomous snake shouldn't be relocated far away because it'll just, it'll be lost and it could die.
It could die, yes. So in fact, one of the studies that we conducted with Russell Bite was here. I think almost all the snakes of the study, the ones that were relocated, didn't make it. So within a few months, they all died.
Right.
So,
How does it feel, to be a lady curator of a, really emerging serpentarium? I mean, what feeling do you get? I'm sure you must tell us.
yeah, so it's great, honestly, and I feel like the team here, it's just fantastic to be given this opportunity, to have this opportunity, and to receive training. I never say this to his face, but from Gerry. He's one of, honestly, the best people that I know, and to train under him is something very cool, because I think one of the best things about about the space and how we treat animals is that we try to minimize stress. And one of the things I've always admired with Gerry when he's handling a snake is that the snake is never stressed out, or very often if it is a stressed out snake, as soon as he's got it with him, he knows how to calm it down. And I think, just working with that mindset, building skills, and honestly, we don't know much about snakes, and being able to contribute to that is something that I feel very
Very
privileged.
satisfying.
Very privileged and very satisfying.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.